Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We're together again. It's been a while.
I know. Between sickness and the weather.
I know. And now we're getting normal weather. Well, weird weather.
Allegedly.
For February.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But, I mean, I think we've gotten better with the virtual thing.
Yeah.
That's been working out okay. There's still a slight delay, but I think we're just gonna have to get over that.
I know. It's just weird when you're like talking and you think the other person's done, or like you're waiting for the person to respond and they're like still hearing it, but you're done talking.
It's like a news report. When well, the Grammys happened this past weekend. Did you feel like the location was weird?
Yeah, I thought they normally did like the theater seating, but then I'm like, well, I haven't watched in a couple of years,
I know.
so maybe.
I was thinking that too. I don't think I watched last year.
That's just like I don't know, when you have to sit, I mean, what are they sitting there for like 3 hours, 2.5 hours? Like that in these like random chairs, and I mean it looked nice, but it was like, I know, even like I had just had my work Christmas party and we were in like tables like that, and then when you're all turned to face where the program is happening, it's like
it's still uncomfortable.
It's like I feel like I'm in the way, and then there's this table right next to me, but that's what they looked like.
Well, and I know that like one of the things with some of the show, especially like the Grammys, because they usually would have them in like a real theater, so it was like the real theater seats, they were in an arena,
right?
But like with a theater, you don't have tables, they can't really give you food and like drinks to a table, so it's more like in between or whatever. But I mean, I guess it was nice that they could give them food,
right? But
like also it just seemed, again, cramped. And then they had like the little tables where all the like celebs were.
Right.
And then behind it, they had just like folding chairs kind of with people that I'm guessing were like maybe part of the music industry, but not getting award. And then all the people in the arena seating.
Right.
So I just thought it was bizarre.
I know. They had a lot of people there too.
Yeah. I don't know. And we said that about like the Golden Globes, was just like, it's so cramped. It's awkward when people are walking around tables to get to the front.
You know, in the big dresses.
Yeah.
And just climbing over everything, and then again, because there are drinks and stuff on the table, like you're just waiting for it all to get knocked over.
I know. I felt too that there seemed to be like less big stars there. Like obviously, you know, like Taylor was there and those people, but like I don't know, I just felt like back in the day when we would like hardcore be into the Grammys, there was like everybody was there.
Every pop star
from every genre,
rapper, everybody was there. All the country people were there. I mean, there was like hardly any country people there this time, and that's what's cool about it, is everybody from everything is there.
I know, and like all the like rappers are hip hop, like I didn't even really see them, like I didn't even know SZA was really there until
I know. Well, and then it was like, which I wasn't sure if it was because of like the traffic thing allegedly that was going on.
They always say that.
I know, right? But it seemed like people were still on the red carpet for like a long time before they even came into their seats, and then it was like,
which is awkward.
I know. And then when Trevor Noah was like, Beyonce and Jay-Z, no, I'm not kidding, they're gonna be here. I'm like, but why weren't they there yet?
Right.
Like that's what I was like. I don't know. That was different.
What are you licking the paper for? Somebody wants attention. I don't know. I just felt, and like we were talking about just like the Grammys overall. I just feel like, you know, when Jay-Z gave his kind of poignant speech and kind of called out like some people are in, whether it was him meaning like some people don't deserve to be in some categories or some people are genuinely placed in the wrong categories. Because we even said that like in previous years. We're like, wait, what the heck?
Right.
And then about like Beyonce never getting album of the year. I'm just like, does it even mean anything anymore? Like,
I know, I that's what I kind of think. Or even like the Oscars and stuff, or just any of the awards in general. I feel like it's kind of I just feel like it was such a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Even like 6 years ago. And now like, I don't know, when like COVID and stuff happened and then nobody liked the celebrities anymore. And then it's like they didn't care about the awards.
And I don't know. I think just like things have changed so much for music too, with streaming. And then there's like I said to you, like the best new artists, like I had no idea who most of them were, but then when they played the song, I recognized the song from TikTok. Right. But I never knew who the artist was. Right. So that was weird. So like social media has just kind of taken over and made these viral songs. And I don't know that like radio play isn't like it was. We aren't going out and buying CDs. Like it's different. It is. Like I wonder how they decide those things now. Well, I know I looked up because we had looked up previously like how Grammy, it honestly might have been this time last year. Like, I know there was a time where we were like sitting there. We were looking it up. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I just remember it was like Phoebe Bridgers. Yes. And we were like, I've never heard of her. And then it's like, then you actually look up her music. And it's like, how did everyone else, or like, how did this nomination come about? I know. So, and like, so you get nominated, like you can either submit yourself or, you know, your label, whoever submits you. And then those submissions go out to people that are up to date with their dues in the academy, which are like other artists and people in the music industry. And then they vote in their like categories. And then it brings down like, I think the top 5 or however many there are in each category. And then it goes out and they vote again, I think. So they like still do it like that? Then? That's when I looked it up. Because I looked it up just like after the awards. That's what it said. I mean, who knows what really happens, I guess. Like, I don't but it's just, and then when, just with like the winners, because the rap album went to like that Killer Mike, who I have never heard of in my life. And like he was up against like Travis Scott and Drake. And I'm just like, how did he win? Like, are people like rigging it in a weird way? Like, I don't know. I know, like none of it makes any sense. And then even like when you hear like, I don't even know, just any artist and they put whatever song, it's like, but your other song is so much better. Like, or like what makes a good song that they nominate? Yeah, I know. And like I said, does it even matter? Because like Jay-Z's saying that Beyonce hasn't won album of the year. Obviously that hasn't hurt her career in any way. You know, I mean, even for it's just like an accolade. Yeah, it's like even for Taylor Swift, it's like, oh, okay, great. That's special that you know, won more Grammys and this is your 4th time getting album of the year. But is that really, like, is there someone out there that didn't know Taylor before this last Grammy win and is suddenly going to listen? Like, I don't really think that's going to be what gets people more fans. Right. You know, I don't know. It's weird. It is weird. I don't know. And I was wondering too, like how they decide who gets to do like the tribute stuff. Yes. I thought the tribute was weird this year. I know. Well, and then I was like, did they have a connection with each other? Or did they just like, you can handle this song? Yeah, it just felt really disjointed. And usually it's more like one person kind of does the whole thing. But this year there were like 3 different people with different songs, and I was like thrown off by it kind of.
I know. Yeah, I just wonder how they pick all that. Or even like the Whitney Houston one and Fantasia.
Yes.
It's like, did she have a connection to her? Could she just handle the song? Like what?
I miss too. I mean, we had the great collab of like Tracy Chapman and what's his name? Luke Combs. Luke Combs.
Right?
Combs or Brian? I don't know.
I feel like there's like Zach Bryan, Luke Combs, Luke something else. I'll look it up real fast.
Remember, that's what the Grammys used to be.
Yes, where you'd get these insane collabs that you never thought it was Luke Combs.
Oh, okay.
That you never thought you'd ever get. Like, wasn't it like the Jonas Brothers and Stevie Wonder?
Yeah, and isn't that where we had Aerosmith and Britney?
Yeah, just like these awesome collabs, and that was a really cool collab. But it's like,
it was
where
an
are
obvious
the rest?
collab because that was her song,
right?
And there were no other collabs.
No, none.
Which is lame, I thought.
I know.
What I heard a lot of people talking about the overall fashion, and I thought that too when I was looking at red carpet stuff. Like usually the Grammys and the VMAs, like the music awards, are kind of ones where people are a little more
funky.
Yeah, they're a little more risque. They're a little more adventurous. But I thought it was very subdued what people were wearing.
It was almost too pretty.
I know.
Like Monet.
Oh, Janelle Monáe.
Yeah.
And she always does kind of off the wall.
Yeah.
And it was
beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, she's always beautiful.
The one in the bronze dress.
I think
something Monet, wasn't it?
Oh, no. It was the new artist. Well, I don't know.
Who had the daughter?
Yes, that was the new artist, and I don't know who she was. And that was really pretty. But
was it Victoria Monet? Was that something?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Well, whoever had that bronze dress on, that was gorgeous. That could have been. I don't know what the young kids are listening to.
And even like Alex Earl was there, which whatever. I guess we're just
influencers are always like
invited.
Infiltrated.
But she wore like the most understated black dress I've ever seen in my life, which she looked beautiful.
Right.
But it's just odd because these always were award shows where you could show more skin. You could get kind of crazy. Like what Miley wore was the norm.
Right.
Like people were doing that all the time. So it was just different. It wasn't as fun.
No.
You know? I
know, like Lady Gaga coming, that was at the Grammys, right? Where she came out in the
egg.
The embryonic sack. Like that kind of stuff. People weren't really doing that.
No,
or like even
nobody else was doing that.
Nobody was coming out unless but you know, there was a lot
being
cooler
birthed
stuff.
by an alien.
Well, that's my expectations. I did not get it.
She set the bar too high.
She did.
No, it was definitely different. I thought the overall vibe was kind of different too. Like when Miley was performing and she's like, come on, don't act like you don't know this song. Like the crowd was so lame.
It was a very somber. I wonder why.
Yeah. But I said to you before too, like, there's a weird undertone with the Grammys. Like, remember a few years ago when The Weeknd
freaked out?
Yeah.
I think that's when we were having this whole discussion because we didn't understand
what the heck was going on.
Like, why?
And like, ever since then, it's like, I mean, I guess it has happened before where like, you know, I think Jay-Z said too, didn't he say that where people like boycotted the Grammys but still watched the Grammys in their hotel?
And like Ariana Grande had like a big thing where she boycotted it that one year too.
It's just weird. Like, is it gonna even keep going because it just seems like it's lost its meaning for artists, or maybe there's a weird thing within the industry where they know some people are favored. Like, I don't know. It was weird to not see all the biggest names in music there. And it used to be just like a really fun night, and it didn't seem like it was fun at all.
No. And just like thinking too, it's like a lot of these artists aren't making music. Like we were talking about Justin Bieber, Rihanna doesn't make music anymore. It's like nobody's making music because they're like in these weird situations with their labels. And I don't know. It's like, who are the big singers right now? Literally Taylor and like Lil Nas X wasn't there.
No, he's had a weird thing going on. I don't really know what's happening.
If it's real or not. But it's like none of these people, like Megan Thee Stallion wasn't there. Nicki Minaj wasn't there. Ariana Grande wasn't there.
You know what they should have done? Is had a rap battle between Nicki and Megan.
That would have been the collab.
I know. Like, can you imagine? Like, if it was like unplanned,
right?
And like Megan was supposed to perform, and then all of a sudden, like a light comes on and like doors open, and Nicki just comes like strutting out.
Megan, what's good? Or something, whatever.
That would be amazing.
It would.
Missed opportunity.
I know. Remember Miley Cyrus hosted a couple years of like, I think it was like the VMAs.
That was
it's like, let's get somebody else.
Well, I was thinking about Miley, and I did not like Miley Cyrus. Like, she went through such a weird stage that I just couldn't get on board.
Miley Cyrus. And right before that, remember we were like
in love with her.
Yes, there's that little bun on top of her head and the hair color and her body, which her body still looks so amazing.
I heard somebody saying that this is a Pilates body. Yes. And she's been doing Pilates forever. Where's the nearest Pilates studio?
I know, literally. But then I was thinking too, I'm like, she, like you just said, she has done it for so long. Like probably since 2013. I mean, my gosh. But anyway.
So if if we keep podcasting for the next 10 years, maybe you'll notice a little difference. But yeah, she looked unbelievable. I couldn't get behind the hair. But anyway, what I was saying with this was, I was not a Miley fan when she went through that bangers phase.
It was just a lot.
And I just also am not the biggest fan of her voice in general. It's just not my cup of tea. But I did love that Malibu song that she had. I thought that was cute. And then I loved Flowers. Beautiful song, like so empowering.
When she has the right song for her voice, it makes such a difference.
I agree.
She can't do, like, I had the Bangers album. I don't even know why. It was not good.
No.
Like the songs for her voice, I mean, it was just so goofy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously we Can't Stop was a fun song.
But it's not.
I know. I just feel like her music needs to stop trying to be good for like radio play, because her voice is just not. I think she just needs to make that rock album.
Well, remember when she did that like backyard thing where she was singing like Jolene and all that stuff,
and she was so beautiful.
I thought that was really pretty on her too. But then I don't know. It's like when she tries to do like the traditional pop ballad, like it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work anymore. And like Wrecking Ball is a really beautiful song, and Angels Like You is really beautiful. Like her voice can sound really beautiful, but it's just the song. I don't know. I think she needs somebody else like producing her or something.
The song choices sometimes. But I also just like, I felt like Miley's whole demeanor, it felt like she has really matured a lot. Like just overall, like seeing her at this award show and how she presented herself. And I mean, she still threw a couple little jokes in there or whatever. But it just was refreshing to see her.
Yeah, like, and I don't like to use the word normal, but
yeah,
like,
I know.
acting,
But she wasn't performative.
No.
You know, like you could, even when she was up on the stage performing Flowers, like she just seemed very free.
Yes.
And very sure of herself. And like, I don't know, that just and maybe that was just something for her that like came with age and going through her, you know, big breakup and stuff. But I don't know, she just seemed, I really liked this version of her.
I know, like, I've been seeing like little videos coming up on my YouTube shorts of her like doing an interview, and she does seem just so really humble and like, haha, that was funny when I did that. You know, like it's like, oh. But I do like this 30 or 31-year-old Miley.
I know, and you know, I mean, I guess we're growing with her too, so maybe it's just what we find to be nice and refined and like that our taste is changing too. But I don't know, I hate when it's just so like put on, and it didn't feel like that with her at all.
Right.
Somebody's getting a little cozy over here. Can't edit you out.
There's just like a blob.
I know.
Maybe you could use that like blurring thing.
Filtered. What else happened this week?
Like for me personally.
Did you have any other?
I do. I finished I have a couple of book topics for a minute.
Oh.
But
we need to get back in our book club.
Well, I did finish Paris Hilton's book, and I took some notes just because it kept popping up, and I'm like,
finally
filtering through.
I know.
But I won't talk about that now in case I won't really talk about that now, but I did Hannah Brown's book.
Oh, I forgot she.
It was called God Bless This Mess.
Okay, we're off to a good start.
Yeah, so it had a lot of like religious undertones, but it wasn't like too bad. Like it wasn't like an unbearable thing. But I actually kind of liked her book. Did you ever watch her season?
Yes.
You did watch her
season? Did.
Well, I ended up looking up this video, like randomly, that Ashley Norton on YouTube did a video about her season, and I was dying laughing. It was so funny that Luke P or whatever freaking lost his mind. That is such a funny video. I'll have to, I don't know, maybe I'll send it to you and link it. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. I like could not get over that nutcase.
She had, that was
unhinged.
She had 2 Lukes, right?
That was like Luke P and I don't remember. I feel like the other one left earlier. And she had like Tyler Cameron, who we talked about, and Pilot Pete or whatever. Well, anyway, her book wasn't that bad considering, because I never watched her whatever Bachelors, because I didn't really like her on Colton's season.
Yeah, I didn't really like her either, but that was when I watched every season. I know. So
I just weirdly, like, I just come in and out and watch some of the seasons. So I did watch Colton's season. I did watch Pilot Pete's season, and all they were just all so messy. But
I know.
Anyway,
Colton's really was messy.
Oh gosh. Just like, I mean, like that was good TV.
I know, it really was
good. I mean, my goodness.
And then knowing now what we didn't know then, it's like, oh what my God.
I don't talk about whiplash.
And now we never talk about it ever.
No, literally, we're not. I guess it's all fine. Poor Cassie. Anyway,
where is she now?
Probably in a psych ward.
I know. Still recovering.
Gosh.
Poor thing. Anyway,
the book was pretty good. I thought she did a really good job talking about kind of like, which, you know, has been talked to death, but the double standard of like women and sexuality and everything. And even before she was on The Bachelor, or the Bachelorette and Bachelor, she still had problems with guys with that too, like, and
well,
I mean
she's
from
Southern,
from Alabama or whatever. But I thought she did a really good job, and I thought she was really good at talking about too, like, a lot of like Christian women then would like attack her after
that double standard too.
So she was like, had a really hard time with that, and but she had this like childhood trauma that I don't think she's still
processing.
When she was, I think the ages were 6, she was 6 and her brother was 4, and she had cousins that were also 6 and 4. They were murdered by
the cousins.
The cousin and her aunt.
Oh my God!
Were murdered by a guy who was like doing stuff on their property, and they like let live on their property.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and so it was like this whole thing where he basically was like came in, and this is all according to the guy. He came in and was like, look, the mom left for a second, which was the aunt of Hannah Brown, left for a second, then she came back, and he was like digging around in her purse, and then she's like what are you doing? And he like got about a pocket knife and like stabs her. And then she tells she's like, everybody, run. So the little girl tries to get out the door and can't, because it like something happens, so he stabs her. The mom runs upstairs with the little boy, tries to hide him, then he comes up and she's like, you don't have to do this. He's like, it's too late. Stabs and kills the mom, then stabs and kills the little boy, and just really traumatic. And it was her God. It was her dad's sister. And she said like after that and stuff, her dad was just extra angry, and I guess the dad had gone, this was like his 3rd year of like a tragic death, but this was obviously the most tragic. And then she's like, we never, like, I didn't go to therapy or anything. And then she's like, when I would try to talk to my friends about it a little bit, and she's like, I never really knew the whole story until I was older, they like wouldn't really respond or like wouldn't know what to say, which I don't know if 12-year-olds can like really comfort each other through something like that. And then she said she tried to talk about it on, I think when she was on The Bachelor with Colton, and they like never aired it. And so she's like, I guess I just like can't talk about it. And now she's finally like dealing with it. But it's like,
that's insane.
It was. And she's like, it just really affected me because we were the same age as these 2 kids. And she's like, I got to do all this stuff and those cousins didn't. And then she got to like go in the rooms, and they got to like take some of the stuff of the kids. And she's like, I felt so weird about it. And my little brother just wanted this Lego set. And she's like, I would get so mad when he would play with it because he didn't care about it.
But he was younger. He just didn't know.
He's like a little
He would
kid.
have no clue.
Right. But anyway, and then she talks about like all the messiness. And the funny thing with like whenever, like, I guess I've only done 2 Bachelor people, but Tyler Cameron, they're just like, oh yeah, I just sent in my application or for Hannah, someone nominated me, and then I did an interview, and then I was on the show. And it's like, was it really that easy?
Well, Hannah, I guess I just am not a standout candidate.
That's what I'm like.
Actually, now I think I'm probably just too old.
Oh,
I mean, honestly, because
you're gonna be on the Golden Bachelor,
literally, because not that I like am dying to be on this show, but it was just kind of like a fun thing to do,
right?
And but now you look at like this season, and it's like 22, 24.
I know, which is like wild,
insane.
I know that is just too young. I think like you're not gonna find. I mean, I know people get married young all the time,
but it's not like, even that. It's like, it's like, sure, people get married at young ages, but they didn't find each other on a reality show where they were competing for one person's love against 20 others. Right. You know, and it was filmed over 6 weeks or whatever. You know, like it's different. Like most of the time, and I listened to Spidey's podcast, and they had Corinne Olympios on.
I was just talking about earlier.
And she was saying like, now, like when I was on, it was Nick Vial's season, and I think I was there to see, like, could this be a love connection? And most of the girls on there at that time felt the exact same way, or they felt that they were already, like in love with them. But now she even said that that's not the intention of the people that go on now. It's to get famous, and I can become the Bachelorette. Exactly. Like,
I know, and it is like such a like. You like apply for it and you don't even know who the person's gonna be.
I know, that's
which is
weird.
Wild. And then just to like, we're gonna. Obviously, you can get engaged and have to get married for 7 years, But it's like, I feel like, like she was saying, like people really were there. They really did feel like they were gonna love this person, and they were like excited about it. And now it's like flushing them out as fast as we can.
And I mean, do you even expect the couples to last? Like, I don't.
No. Or like the past I mean, I haven't heard anything about the past bachelors.
No, I don't even. Well, now it's that Joey, and I haven't watched, but I haven't even seen a lot of news about.
No.
I just think it's, I mean, I'm not being like a hater of like younger 20-somethings, but I just don't think that people really want to watch that. I
know, because it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's genuine.
At
like
all.
I think if you had like 28-year-olds, even 27 to 36, it's like I feel like people are like gonna be more willing to find love.
And there's still gonna be drama, but it probably won't be as messy, and I think it would be probably more fun to watch if people are actually taking it seriously and not so like, oh, well, I'm going to go make out with him because she just made out with him and I need to stay as long as I possibly can. Like just the ulterior motives.
I know. And I think like, especially like that Hannah Brown era and stuff, I really do feel like they were like having strong connections with like 2 or 3 people and they just weren't getting enough time. Like she said with her and Peter, she's like, we could just never get that full amount of time that we needed to really connect. And I think, they could be broken up by now, but I really think those two could have really become something. And then it was just too weird after that. Or even like, well, I wouldn't even say as much Tyler Cameron, but I do think that Tyler and her, based off both their books, would have actually tried to pursue a relationship that could have meant, but then she's picked that doopy head.
I know.
So that it was like, I don't know, it just really got ruined where there could have really been like a good relationships there.
But I guess it's just like anything else. Like if you're in the wild, you might have people that you met at the wrong time and who knows, like that could have been a whole different life for you. And then I think I did not read Tyler Cameron's book, but I've listened to some interviews with him and he had said like at one point, like later with Hannah, like he was thinking about like shooting his shot and then she actually was like, no, we can't do this, like we're too far from where we were. But it's just like interesting how, well, what if they would have tried a few years later?
I know, because it's like I really felt like they were both in a place where they were willing to go for it. And it just like
I guess it wasn't meant to, I think she's married to some,
or she's engaged because she was on Rachel Bilson's podcast maybe like in the summer, and I just found her to be like incredibly like Debbie Downer. But I guess now that I read her book, I understand where the Debbie Downer part comes.
I just never was a huge fan of her in general. I can't remember if I've ever said this on the podcast before, but when I was in college, there was a girl that I knew who, she was like one of our roommates on our floor, and she had her her father like killed her mother in front of her and her brother, and she was young. I guess trigger warning.
Oh yeah, I've got more dark stuff coming up, so
trigger warning for the rest of this podcast. But and she like hadn't really dealt with it either, and I think like her brother was older by, I don't know, maybe like 5 years. Like it was kind of a significant amount, and so he kind of just dealt with it by like completely blocking it off and not really talking about it. But she wanted to talk about it, and when she got to college, like she kept trying to talk about it to like a few of us, and it just got to the point where like we would listen, but like we couldn't help, and we told her like, you know, we want to be there for you and want to support you, but we don't know what to do in these situations, and like we don't feel like we're helping you in any way, and you really should go to therapy. And she didn't really take too kindly to that, and was kind of like mad that we were saying, and we weren't necessarily saying like you can never talk to us about this ever, but it was just we went through so much of the same, I'm in a down mood, I want to talk about this. But as a 18-year-old, I mean, I could not relate to that in any way.
And that's what's so like, her and Hannah Brown have a lot.
I know. That's
it's like murder is such a complicated thing to really understand, especially for like a kids, and it's so heavy and so like
awful,
and it's like if you were living like sometimes in a small town, there's not like a ton of murders and stuff, so it's not like you know how to even deal. And it's like it's not something everyone can relate to.
I know. And I think even at that age, like now being older and being in the mental health field, I'm like, well, I don't necessarily need to relate to what you're going through. Like that can help sometimes, but it's not always necessary. But I think as a kid, you clearly don't have that sense, and like how you're making friends and communicating with people is basically, oh, we have this in common, you know, I understand this about you because I feel it too. And if you can't relate, then you don't even know what to do. So I feel like that's tough, and I'm surprised that given her going into like the public eye, that her going into some therapy didn't happen sooner for her.
I know she definitely, like, I feel like she's now like dealing with it, but I mean and then it was like it made sense too, like her parents not putting her in therapy to deal with it, not really talking about it.
But isn't that such a like typical thing of the time? I mean, I think she's around the same age as us,
I think she is too.
So I mean, when we were teenagers or younger, was therapy even anything uttered ever?
No.
I mean, through like stuff that we've gone through in our lives too, like therapy probably would have been really helpful.
I know, right? Somebody said, I think it might have been in Damien Echols' book, which I was going to talk about in a minute, but how strong kids are compared to adults. Like if you really think about it, you're like, dang, all the stuff you go through as a kid and you like get through it. And now as an adult, if I stub my toe, I'm like, can't make it through the day. I'm just crying at all. No. And it's just like, I don't know. It's
the resiliency is unbelievable. But I think it comes
they still need therapy.
I know,
sometimes.
But it does come with like the knowing.
Yeah.
Like when you're older, you just kind of know more and understand more. And that is almost what makes overcoming stuff harder.
Right.
Whereas when you're little, it's like you don't have the knowledge and like you don't understand a lot of stuff. So you just kind of like block it out. And your brain rears its head in other ways.
Yes. So, but yeah,
and like nobody wants to talk about murder.
No. And that's why when she said, kind of made the comment about like, The Bachelor, like it never airing. It's like, well, that, I don't know. It's like that doesn't really go with like the Bachelor franchise's MO. Like everything's perfect there.
Yeah.
But I understand why she felt like, oh, it was like another bad thing. Nobody wanted to, like, she just could never like talk about it. But again, like I said, she's telling her friends and they're not really responding. But it's like,
what did you expect your friends to say? Yeah.
And I think like, well, as kids, it's like, it's more like, why don't my friends get me? But, you know, like we were saying as an adult, it's like, well, you know, that does, I forgot what I was saying.
Well, as an adult, it feels too like, God, like I can't, no one has any idea how this feels, so I can't even talk about it. Like when you're little or younger, it's just like, it's like angsty, like, oh, my friends, they just don't understand.
They don't get me.
Yeah, but then when you get older, it feels deeper. You're like, wow, like I am really alone in my feeling and in this experience. Like there's not a lot of people that she's probably encountered that have had something similar to that happen.
Right.
That's wild.
I know. So that is why Hannah Brown is maybe a Debbie
It makes
Downer.
me look at her a little differently.
I know. Like I
still found her kind of annoying.
I know. It was a bit. She's like, I just always put on my pageant face and stuff. So that's obviously her like childhood coping mechanism and stuff. But yeah, she's different.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
That.
Moving on. What was that? Did you have another book that you read?
I did Damien Echols' book. Do you know?
No.
West Memphis 3.
Oh, okay.
This is like the main goth kid. And if anybody doesn't know what the West Memphis 3 is, because I like literally can't stop talking about this book, and I'm coming across a lot of people that have not heard of the West Memphis 3. Basically 3 8-year-old boys were murdered, and then 3 teenage boys were accused of it, and they were not guilty in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so Damien Echols was like the kid who was the goth kid, like the main guy that kind of was like the face of
you just kind of forget about this stuff, don't you? And then it comes back and you're like, oh my God.
I know. Well, I always feel like the West Memphis 3, whenever somebody does like first starts a podcast, like a true crime podcast or like a true crime YouTube, they always do that one, and then they never talk about it again. Yeah. Like it's just like, that's one of, you know, like the JonBenet Ramsey, Maura Murray type stuff. But I read his book, and it's called Life After Death, and Damien was put on death row. And then the other 2 were just like Jesse Miskelly and Jason Baldwin were just put life in prison. And so he talks about his like life. He does not talk about the case. So if you are going to read this book, I would like
brush up on the case.
Yeah, I would.
Before.
Like Morbid Podcast did a really good like 3-part episode. And he just talks about his life, and then when he's like life before, and then while he's like in prison on death row, and he talks a lot about like he's such a, I just can't stop raving about him. He's just such a insightful, you know, because like West Memphis, Arkansas, and these like the saddest part I think about like the whole case is how like all these kids, you know, the teenagers and the little boys just lived in such horrible poverty, in such abusive homes, and it's like such a, I don't know, like he just really feels like kind of like a big fish in a little pond. And like I would never say this to his face, but this was almost like if I ever come across him. But this was almost like the best thing that could have happened to him in a weird way, because
isn't
like
that weird?
It is like I said, I would never say that to him.
Yeah.
But, because he I mean, his life in Arkansas wasn't good. Like, would he have gotten heavily into drugs and been incarcerated for something else, or like OD'd or something, where this, he really just like he kind of told himself like, I have to keep my mind. And so he just would like work so hard. He would read books. He got really into like spirituality and like meditation, just trying to keep himself sane in this situation. And of course he was like beaten by the cops and everything, or like the guards and everything, and assaulted and just terrible things. And then towards the end, right before he was getting out. But yeah, so towards the end, when he is in solitary confinement and stuff, he, you know, almost loses his vision. And so he is just in this terrible situation. But there was some funny parts too. I already talked about. No. And when he's talking about the different characters like on death row and stuff, like I was definitely LOLing.
Laughing, crying.
Like, yes. Yeah, the whole book. And yeah, I had gotten my mom onto the book.
I was just gonna ask.
We had some technical difficulties again. We've already had this conversation. We're trying to rehab it. But yeah, my mom read the book and she loved it too. So anyway, I don't remember what else to say about it. And I think we started having conversation about being falsely accused of some crime.
I remember I also said, I hope that we never experience that, but also like, what just like if somebody told me that was their story, I think I would just be looking at them like mouth agape. I know. I don't even know, like all the hardships I've been through, it doesn't even compare.
I know. I was literally telling myself that because when I was sick last week, and it just felt like it just kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I just read Damien Echols' book. Yeah. And I am complaining.
I know.
I don't have to live with rats and crickets and mosquito. Oh my. That's like some of the stuff I'm just like, it was
so awful.
Bad.
Where was he in prison? Do you know?
He did say, I can't remember. He was in Arkansas.
Oh.
And his wife was from New York, and she ends up moving to Arkansas with him. And then when she finds out that he's getting out, he's like, that we have to. He's like, my wife had to like, okay, where are we going to go? He's like, I could not ever be in Arkansas again after that.
Well, I know we probably have some listeners that are from Arkansas, so I don't mean to offend.
You know,
but out of all the states, it wouldn't necessarily be one that I would want to stay.
It was funny when I was talking to my coworker about it. She was like, there was this, I can't remember what she said, but there was something when they were traveling that she wanted to see in Arkansas. And when they were driving around, they were like, dun, 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 dun. Like, just, I mean, I'm sure there's nice
good
areas,
parts, but
it just seems like a lot of poverty.
Yeah. And just
low income and
barren waste, nothingness. Yeah. So, man, I'll have to listen to that.
It was really, it was really good. Like, I don't know. It was so good.
Yeah.
So well spoken.
Kind of a different read.
It was.
Yeah.
Heavy, but.
Yeah. Worth
cool
it.
Guy. It was.
To lighten the mood a little bit, I put it on our Instagram, but from Heather McDonald's Juicy Scoop episode this week, the Tuesday episode
with Diablo Cody.
Yes, which side note on that, I totally forgot about Diablo Cody. Like,
I guess
so fun. And
I know.
Cool.
I guess I always just, because obviously Jennifer's body or whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like I always like randomly think about her. I don't know why.
And like, I mean, when I was like, where has she been?
I know. Well, and she does a lot of stuff that I didn't know was her. Mm-hmm. And I love, like, I've seen her like a couple interviews, but this one was really fun to see her in such like a light-hearted.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I know, that was fun.
I didn't know she did the Jagged Little Pill Broadway. I didn't know that was her.
I forgot about that.
Oh, I did too.
Completely.
But I didn't even realize that she's the one that, But anyway, it was a really great interview, and I would highly recommend that to anybody. to listen to. But they both were talking about a topic that we have discussed before. And this is again where
Harvey thing.
I'm just like, just have us on, Heather, please. We would be so good. Right. We have so much in common. But like just with the Harvey Weinstein stuff, or anybody who, you know, slept with somebody or did something a little, you know, maybe risque or untoward to get ahead in the industry, like just say it.
I know. I want to hear it. And I feel like because I know we've talked about this. It's like, I feel like we're at a time now where people would accept hearing that. Like Trisha Paytas has kind of talked about stuff. She's like, I would kind of say like I was an escort, but I really was just a hooker. And she's like, I did not want to work a 9 to 5. I wanted to make money and I wanted to be around celebrities. And she's like, this is what I did. And she's like, I would do drugs and wake up in random places in the back of trucks. But I don't know. She's like, it just didn't really affect me and I wouldn't change anything.
I know.
I love what I did.
It's like, and I think hearing it from Diablo Cody, because she has been in the industry, like in the inner workings. Right. Like Heather is there, but I think still more adjacent. Right.
And I feel like she's more in like a different, like the comedy scene versus
and like more reality TV. But like hearing Diablo Cody say, you know, I think the people that aren't speaking out are the ones that I was just like, wow. And even when she said like about Harvey, she's like, oh, everybody knew. Right. I mean, it was talked about all the time. Right.
And you just kind of like look the other direction. And I love that she said,
I was just about to say
I would have gotten the opportunity to work with him, I would have done it.
Yeah, you would have turned a blind eye. Right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I know. It's like, and I know like he's like probably one of the ugliest men I've ever seen in my life. And it's like
disgusting.
Not fun to have to say that you slept with him. But like at the same time, look where it got you.
And just like how Heather was saying, I think feminism can look a lot of different ways. Yes. And if you're using this to your advantage, like this is what we wanted Emily Red. I feel like I like the past like 3 episodes, like I've brought her up because it keeps coming back to her. I know. But this is what we've like wanted her to say.
I know.
Like just say full on, yeah, I knew that this was going to get me to where I wanted to be. Right. And so I did it.
Right. And like, instead of like trying to play this game of like, well, okay, this goes into my other topic too. Okay. But it's like you can, because of the way like we kind of like, when a woman is too honest about that stuff, she can't be a victim anymore. Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of the times we do see that there's like this level, like if you admit to doing something like that, then you can't also be a victim. And I think a lot of the time, because I was thinking about this too, I have such a, like with this Damien Echols or like Anthony Kiedis, when a man writes a book and is completely like honest, like, hey, I was sleeping with underage women, I was doing all these things, because they're so honest. But when a woman tries to like write a book and say like, yeah, I was sleeping around, then she can't be a victim of
anymore.
Yeah. Like even with like Paris, when I was like doing Paris Hilton's book, and I kind of like brought this up, like everybody thought, you know, Paris is just sleeping around with stuff. And she probably was a little bit, but she's saying, no, she wasn't. And so, and I believe her, but if it were the other way, where she was sleeping around with anybody, then people aren't going to take her being a victim of abuse as serious for some reason. Yeah. That women are treated like that. And so we always get like these half honesties or like half truths from women. Yeah. That we just like, they won't admit to this stuff. But it's like, I want to hear.
I know.
Regardless.
I think that more people would feel the same way that we do than people might think. Like it would just be, first of all, it would be really interesting, I think. Fascinating to just hear. I know.
Just part of the other topic I was going to bring up was like, I didn't read Crystal Hefner's book, but I just listened to the Celebrity Memoir Book Club podcast episode about it. And they were kind of like, well, they kind of like feel the same way about as us, like the back and forth. Like I feel bad, but I don't feel bad, but then I feel bad. And they're like, you know, with like the Playboy books, they write them coming from like a place of like therapy and everything. So they're like, this is probably how I felt. I probably felt like there was no other option. But they were kind of like making the argument, but no, that's probably at the time you were like, this is the glamorous life I can get by being with this old man, and it's gross.
Right. But I'm going to do it.
Yeah, this is what I want. But they won't
admit to that now because it doesn't look good.
No, you can't also be then a victim of sexual abuse or like mental abuse by this guy because you went there willingly,
or even just taken seriously in general, you know? Yeah. And that's, I think like the Playboy stuff is a perfect example because I want them to just say, I saw how amazing the Playboy Mansion. I went to a couple parties. It was unbelievable. Right. I wanted this life, and I didn't really care that I had to sleep with a geriatric man to get that.
Right.
I mean, okay. Right. And like we look back on like when the whole Me Too movement came out, it was so terrible hearing the stories, but I like felt conflicted on some too, because I'm like, we know that this stuff happened back in, you know, the 40s, 50s, 60s. Like we know that happened with women. And I feel like they did use it to like empower them, and they were very flat out amongst themselves. Like, yeah, I did that and it got me this role. And now look, I have the pick of the litter with my roles. But for some reason, somehow there was like a shift where we completely stopped talking about that.
I know. It's like, no, you don't want to talk about that dirty stuff you had to do to be famous. And even with like the Playboy thing, they were out saying, you know, some of them were like, no, we don't have to sleep with them. We don't have to sleep with them. And then these other girls are coming in and they're like the newbies or something. And they're like, wait, I have to sleep with them? But then it's like, but you should also know that you have to sleep with them. I know. Like nothing in life comes free.
It's just, and I don't know, maybe
so complicated.
I know. And I feel like maybe because like we have been not obsessed, but like so fascinated and kind of like have ingrained ourselves within the entertainment industry from such a young age, like just growing up and just like engulfing ourselves in pop culture in the early 2000s. Like we have a different mindset than other people do. Like I think it's obvious. Like of course you're gonna have to do some like shady things to get what you want sometimes. Like of course people are going to want to take advantage of you. Like I don't think it's bad to talk about that and to just be flat out like, yeah, this was it, and now I have the career that I always wanted. Or like, yeah, and it didn't work out for me. You know, like I want to hear that stuff because that makes it so much more real than, well, I just got lucky.
They just saw me on the street and I was watching a street dancer.
And all of a sudden,
here I am.
It's like, that's not reality.
No, like, does it happen? Maybe, but
not as frequently as.
It's like 99 times out of 100.
I know.
It's the other way.
And with I didn't listen to Crystal Hefner's book either, but like some bits and pieces that I've seen, it's just, I don't get, like just at the point when she came into Playboy, there was already so much surrounding it with like the Girls Next Door was over. Like we knew some
Playboy
of the dark
wasn't
underbelly.
What it was, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what like Claire and Ashley were talking about in Celebrity Memoir Book Club too. They're like, okay, but I was also growing up in 2007.
Yeah.
And I knew what was going, and they still gave her sympathy and stuff. I mean, but it's like, it's just such like a she's like, for you to think that it was either Playboy or nothing, it's just
completely
like,
unrealistic.
Right.
It's not even
right.
I mean,
yeah, you have like a mom that's kind of like always thinks you need a man and stuff, but it's like, it just, you knew, or you would think that you would know, like, I want this glamorous life that Playboy is going to offer me.
I mean, I'm going to be completely honest, put myself in that situation as a 20-something.
Right.
I'm out there. I get an offer from Hugh Hefner.
You get to live in the mansion.
I'm absolutely taking that.
Right.
I mean, literally, come on.
Right. I'm like, it's like that just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. But they were also kind of talking about like how we've kind of like rewritten history a little bit when it comes to like femininity and stuff. And hopefully I explained it good, but they were bringing up the point with like Barbie, and they were saying how it was like, you know, Barbie, obviously in the beginning, everybody loved her. And then like kind of when we were younger, all of a sudden the narrative changed, like, well, she has an unrealistic body type and stuff. And then it was like, we all hated Barbie. Yeah. And then they're like, then this movie comes out. And we're all like, no, that was totally like in a perfect feminism. And obviously the movie is more than just like the doll.
Yeah.
But I just thought they brought up a really good point. And I was thinking too, how like, even with like, you know, the Paris Hilton thing too, it's like we villainized feminine women so much. And they've kind of become like this, you know, like, enemy. Like, you know, even like when we were growing up, it's like you didn't want to be that girl, you wanted to be the nerdy girl, and the guy likes the nerdy girl better, right, and stuff like that. And we're kind of like, and they kind of felt that Crystal was doing that just a little bit, where like I said earlier, where it's like, yeah, maybe I did this because of that. I thought it was my only option, when in reality it was like, no, this was the glamour and everything.
And now maybe you don't really want to admit that like, you know, you were fine using your feminine prowess to get, you know, what you wanted. And I just think too, like, you know, nobody is perfect. And the stuff that has come, you know, some of the stuff that has been said about Hugh Hefner, it's like he was controlling, whatever. I mean, does that surprise me? Not in the slightest. But I just think like some of the stuff that she's come out with, like about sleeping with him and all that adjacent stuff, I'm like, that's just slanderous at this point. I just don't feel like there's any reason to bring that up, except you're trying to, first of all, like make headlines, and second of all, like kind of
it fits your narrative. Like that you were it's like that you were the victim, and you were, but you also
like two things can be true at the same time.
Like,
you know,
you were a victim and you weren't a victim. And it's like when you're 20, because I think when he died, she was, actually I don't remember, or maybe when they got married, it was like he was 86 and she was 26.
Yeah, like she was kind of in her later 20s.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know how any person, man or woman, could go into that and think, this is a normal relationship, like, and I'm going to have a healthy communication, a healthy sex life, a healthy everything. Like, there's no way that you I know,
think
it just
that.
seems, I know, and it's like, it just seems so, I don't know. It just seems so like, and I don't want to say like dumb or something, but it's don't complain about what is relatively obvious.
But I almost think that doing what she's doing, it fits into that, like, you know, oh, what a stupid woman.
Right.
And in reality, it was not that. It was
smart.
Yeah, it was smart. And like, why are you trying to make yourself seem less intelligent?
I know, like, I was such a little helpless
babe in the woods. I didn't know.
And the other part that kind of like blows my mind just like about her, she literally stayed with him till the end. Like, I know. That is like, and then I think they were saying that he like made sure like she like that they had gotten a house like in both their names, so she had somewhere to go and like got some. Well,
I looked that money up too. Because she wasn't. I don't think she was in the will, but because they were legally married, she ended up getting like a good chunk of money.
Right.
So it's like, okay, girl, like it's almost like really, the Anna Nicole Smith situation. It's like, whether we want to say that she truly loved him or not,
or like, is it ethically good on her part? Maybe not
really,
but also not good on his.
Yeah, like, and look what you did, what you had to do to get ahead at that point. Like, okay, like that's if I was presented with other opportunities, I would probably make some questionable decisions too, but I've never been presented with those.
I know, when you're this guy that's, I mean, at least somewhat has some money, and he's like kind of knocking on death's door. I mean, it's not right.
What? It's not
unright, but like he's a bad person too.
Yeah,
in
like
a way.
He's taking advantage too. What did they say in this episode of Juicy Scoop too? Like, men are sometimes looking for a nurse and a purse, or sometimes they're just looking for the nurse and then you're getting the purse.
Right? Yeah. I know, that was funny too.
I know, but that is true too, because like I think that is why a lot of like older men get with younger women, because I think that they are thinking like, okay, I need somebody to take care of me. but it is silly, and I think they said this in that episode as well, like, we have no idea what's going to happen in life. Like, didn't Heather give the example of like a friend's mom or somebody that she knows, where like she ended up getting married to this younger man, and she was this like breadwinner, successful, hot older woman, and then he got in a horrible accident, and she was the one that was taking care of him, and then they ended up getting a divorce. So it's like sometimes it doesn't work out how you think it's going to.
No.
And that really sucks.
But you wanted the young hot guy, and he was maybe reckless, and it's like, I know, and it's just a really interesting.
I know,
and it is hard to talk about, because I don't know, it is hard to talk about because there's so many differing opinions. But I think even when we talked about like Britney Spears and stuff, it's like, yes, you went through a terrible, terrible thing, and I believe that you went through this terrible, terrible thing, but it's like you're spinning this picture of that you were just some innocent bystander,
and you weren't.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard with women.
Yeah, it is, and I just think it's something that it's not acceptable to just be forthright about, and I think that's a shame. And like, I hope that we've made it clear by talking, but like from me, and I'll speak for you, like, there's no judgment there with people who do these things. Like, I don't want to hear about them so that I can then judge what they did. I literally want to hear about it, because I think it's so just interesting how different people get where they are, and like the choices they made, especially ones in the public eye. Like, that's so fascinating to me. And just the transparency, I think, is important, because
I know, instead of making it like, oh yeah, this just happened, I think it is important to be like, I want to, because there's a lot of young people that want to be actors, and then if Jennifer Lawrence is like, you know what, I had to sleep with Harvey Weinstein, and it sucked, but I have 3 Oscars. I know. And I get paid a ton of money. People. Literally. And I get a ton of money anytime I try to make
any type of movie.
And I married a rich guy, and I'm doing pretty dang good.
So, like, please just be honest.
Really, though, instead of... Yeah, no, I agree. Anywho.
Well, should we take a little break?
Okay, let's take a break. week.
The temperatures are starting to cool down, and you know what that means. It is cookie making season. So instead of making your own cookie dough or going and buying that prepackaged stuff at the store that we know isn't super healthy, why not try something that is actually made with good for you ingredients? That is where dough comes in. These cookie doughs are ready to make right out of the tub, and you can also eat the cookie dough raw because it is vegan and gluten-free. The best part is that it's enhanced with different vitamins and supplements that can support your immunity or help stabilize your mood. We have tried a few of these different flavors, and we're always eager to try new ones. They are so delicious. We've tried the donuts as well, which are so perfect to put in your lunchbox for work, and we're going to be trying some of the delicious spreads that they have soon. So if any of that sounds good to you, go to Eat Dough, that's dough spelled DEUX.com, and use our promo code WATERBOTTLE for 10% off. That's eatdough.com and use promo code WATERBOTTLE.
And we're back.
All right, Vanderpump. Let's get into it. I liked this episode overall. I thought
felt like old Vanderpump.
It did, and I like how the gears are turning. We're getting back in. Like the first episode was introductory, and now we're jumping in.
I know, and so I just want to. Well, I guess I'll just. I'm starting to see some commentary about James Kennedy not being a great. But was anybody thinking he was a great person?
I know.
That's what I'm a little confused about. We witnessed
a lot
of him not being nice, and I think he's been actively trying. And now it's going to sound like maybe he isn't, but it just seemed like he was actively trying to be a little bit better, and I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong about Allie, even though I don't know her. I just feel like she wouldn't put up with it.
Right.
In the way that Rachel did. But
this is another thing, to go on about Juicy Scoop again. But I think in that same episode, this is in the same vein of what you're saying. So bear with me for a second.
It's fine.
But they were talking about cancel culture and how Heather was saying there was stuff from Chelsea lately that she's so glad was scrubbed from the internet and whatever, and same with I'm glad that social media didn't exist when we were younger, because I'm sure there was stuff that we said or did that we don't even remember that would live in eternity and could, when this podcast blows up, would be pulled out from the archive. But I think what they were saying was isn't it a beautiful thing that people can change and they can learn, they can evolve, they can grow up as people. Isn't that the point of our existence?
Right. And it's if James has admitted to his problems and stuff, and I think that's a good start.
Right. I mean, I am
all
not,
of them are admitting to their issues.
No. So. And I'm not under the impression that James is a perfect person. I think right now he looks pretty darn perfect because of
how bad
everybody else is.
And the thing, I think we've talked about this before, but good quality people aren't great reality TV stars.
Yeah,
so it's if you want to enjoy a show that has a lot of good reality or drama and stuff, then you can't have
these wholesome
people. You have
pie.
to have these kinds of characters that maybe do some bad things or say bad things sometimes or have hot tempers. And anyway, I just wanted to say that. We'll see what happens with it.
But that's where it's frustrating though. We're as the public, we're so quick to just pick these people apart.
I know. And then I saw a thing there's this end scene with Tom and James talking, and somebody was and then the way James gaslit Sandoval, and I was okay,
come on.
I think that's a little. I think
you're gonna say this one isolated incident is
James gaslighting Sandoval.
Yeah, come on. It's just. I mean, how many situations have you as the audience been in where, you know, you have lost your temper, you've said something that you wish you could take back or whatever. It's like, we're not perfect people, so stop. And
we
nobody
don't have
on
cameras
reality
on us.
TV pretends to be either. That's the thing.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, that was going ahead a little bit on the episode, but I feel it had to be said.
I know.
You were
just
right
starting to hear some rumblings, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of fun to see how they're like talking about special forces without saying special forces. Like,
different network.
Are they not allowed? And then everything with the house, like with Tom and Ariana, I thought the white noise machine was funny. Because it showed him like walk out, turn it on, walk back in. The house is just kind of a mess. Like there's boxes everywhere. You can tell that they're both like in and out. And then poor Anne. Like that's all I wrote. Poor Anne.
Didn't they say on that Vial Files episode that Anne has quit?
Yes, they did.
So that's kind of weird to like see her.
Now she's gone. Now we know
and
why.
Now everybody is like loving her.
Well, I heard that she started her own podcast. I don't know if that's actually true, and I have no idea what it's called.
Right.
But yeah, that poor thing. I would on Watch What Happens Live. They had Sheena on, and one of the poll questions was like, "Would you be the go-between? Would you be Anne?" And I'm like, well, I mean, obviously, if I could be on the show,
I know, like a normie, I would say yes.
But if I was genuinely looking for a job, that would not be one that I would be jumping out for. The pump closing stuff was kind of weird because it was almost just like brushed over. Like I thought they would do something more with that.
I know. And I thought pump had been closed, but maybe I'm just maybe something else closed.
Sometimes the timeline is a little confusing too. And then I wonder if the James and Allie thing talking about getting a dog was like a known setup.
Right. Well, and here normally I felt like the Vanderpump people were pretty good about being quiet about their seasons, but the way all these, like I'm telling you, these reality people are gonna bite themselves or shoot themselves in the foot because bite themselves in the butt because they are giving away too much. And now I'm overthinking everything. And I'm like, well, that's fake.
Yeah, I know.
The Lala thing last week, that's fake.
Same. I mean, I do think that was a clear setup.
Like,
but it just
I was really been missing the dog.
I know, it makes me wonder because part of me is like, well, it would be a natural thing for Lisa or him or anybody to be like, well, what do you think happened to Graham? Right. Now that we know that Rachel / Raquel at the time is
in this treatment center.
So where's Graham? But now that we know that like Graham makes a grand entrance later in the season, it just feels like, was this filmed later? Did they know this was going to happen?
Is this where we're editing it now?
Yeah.
And it's like, what stopped them from getting a different dog at that point? Because they knew they were getting Graham.
Were they in the process of looking? I don't know. I did think it was cute that they were in matching, like color coordinating outfits for walking. That was cute. And then, Sandoval's that manager from the band, Jason, talking about Rachel, and this is where Sandoval says he misses her and that he's still in love with her and he wants to give the relationship a chance, which I thought was really like, whoa, like,
well, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be giving it a chance at this.
Yeah, but it was just crazy to hear him say
like, yeah, I'm like sober for her.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, really, I mean, like, it obviously makes sense that they shouldn't be together, but like, what stopped her from not being with him? Like, her parents told her she wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
Because
she had some epiphany in therapy.
Right. And it's like, at that point, why would you not just be together?
Well, and because it for a time while she was in treatment, they clearly were communicating all that stuff. So they were still in a relationship. And it is kind of just like, God, even if it was toxic after how everything blew up, don't you like, why would you not try to see it, like, because
or like have a and like it sounds like they didn't even get to talk. Like, why wouldn't you sit him down,
have a real breakup,
and why wouldn't you sit him down and be like, why should I think this, you aren't gonna do this to me? You know, like nothing. And I just think, and then with her not being on the show, it's kind of like,
well, that's definitely a piece that's missing. And I'm kind of conflicted with that too, because
I know, well,
I don't have any interest in her.
Right. Well, and it's like, I'm conflicted about it now because I thought she was going to go away. And I'm like, okay, that's probably the best thing for her, but she has not gone away. So then it's like, why wouldn't you have just gotten on the show with the people if you're just going to be talking about the show, talking about Sandoval? Like, why can't say it to his face?
Yeah, it's really silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Dumb.
Bad
move.
Then we have Ariana and Lala talking, which their little like chats have been kind of interesting, different. But I do really like how Lala is being pretty frank with Ariana, like about the party thing, and she's like, but why do you care about this? And I'm so like, I can see from Ariana's standpoint where she knows what his parties used to be and how coming home and having a disgusting kitchen and then you wanting to inhabit the space, but you don't want to clean up after him, but it's going to sit there for the whole day. Like, that is really annoying. But also it's like, why do you like care what he's doing? I don't know. It's like, they're inhabiting this space, so they both should be respectful. But putting such a hard line is making it more challenging. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was interesting to hear Lala kind of push back on that. And then even Ariana, whether it was, now I'm also like, whether it was for the show or whether it was real, she ended up kind of being like, okay, fine, we'll compromise with Out by Midnight. And she was at emo night anyway, which I looked it up to see if it did coincide, and because I wanted to know if it really was on the same night, and it was. I went back on their Instagrams and looked. So
interesting.
And this is where Ariana also gives us like a little bombshell saying that she would consider a family with Dan.
I know, I don't really know what to think about that. The thing is, I was just talking to my mom the other day. I was like, I think she would have had the family with Tom if they weren't on the show.
Yeah.
And all the stuff. So but for her to be, I don't know what to think of that.
But honestly. I also do
like, I believe her.
Yeah, where like, you maybe don't feel fully confident in a partner or confident of who they might be as a parent. Or you just don't trust that they will change and be the person you need them to be when you bring another life into the world. And now she feels differently because Dan is a different man. So I can see that too. And then Tom and Tom meet up, and Sandoval's just whining again about not having any money and how he has to pay for everything for Ariana.
And the audacity
blah, blah,
where
blah,
he
blah,
said
blah.
he felt betrayed by Schwartz. I was like,
it was just absurd.
Or betrayed.
And like, you know what? Yeah, it was right for you to take a step back from being the face of Schwartz and Sandy's, but you should have still been involved in some way, helping in some way.
Washing dishes.
Yeah.
With a mask on or something.
Like Schwartz said, give us some ideas of what we can do to freaking repair the damage. I think that Schwartz is being a little dramatic about, his trials and tribulations with the restaurant, or with the bar, but like it was tough there for a little bit.
Oh,
you know? And I said that Sandoval made more of an apology, a genuine apology to Schwartz in that moment than he's ever given to Ariana.
Oh yeah, because he's like, not sorry.
Yeah.
No, he's not sorry, man.
Then we go to Sheena and Brock. We're kind of flying through this, but I feel like we've just talked for a million years already. Nobody needs to hear us for that long. Then we go to Sheena and Brock, and they're talking about Sheena's postpartum OCD, which I appreciate her talking about this more because that's something I didn't really hear much about, or I haven't heard much about. And then there's that kind of moment of tension where Brock is being dismissive of Sheena's feelings with leaving Summer Moon, and it gets kind of awkward.
Oh, is that okay? The pink-haired girl, is that the one that's making out with Tom and
I thought
Katie?
that same thing.
I was like, wait a minute.
But she's like pretty young.
That's what I thought too. And then I'm like, maybe it's not her, but it was just weird that there'd be two pink-haired people.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it felt again like fake.
Right.
Like, oh,
what a coincidence.
I know, like you mean Sheena's whatever nanny or whatever babysitter is now
that she's known since she was 16.
Now since she's making out with Tom and Katie, which I also feel like they're introducing a lot of like side characters, which I do feel like is kind of breaking the fourth wall a little, which I'm kind of like,
we're gonna just have to see where this season goes. It's gonna be interesting. I thought it was a little awkward. I mean, that whole situation was awkward, but I thought it was a little like, I don't know when, I don't even know what her name is. The pink haired girl.
Was it Tori or something?
Was it? When she and Sheena's mom started like getting into the argument between Sheena and Brock.
That was made me uncomfortable to see on camera.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I feel like if the cameras weren't there, you probably would have just like exited the room.
Right.
But since the cameras were there, you're like, well, no, I have to stand up for Sheena. It's like, it was just really uncomfortable to watch.
It was.
But then it seems like everybody ended up on the same page. So whatever.
They edited it to the end where they were friends.
So we don't really know what was edited out there. And then Schwartz and James have their little thing at James and Allie's new house. I heard a thing where someone was saying that James and Schwartz in the first episode, it was feeling very forced. And like,
I think they got in a pretty big fight the previous season, like him making out with Raquel and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they got in a pretty big fight about that. So I do feel like I don't know if it's forced, but I think it's clear that they're working on like something versus like they've been talking since.
Yeah. But I feel like too, a lot of dynamics have shifted, you know? And so if they genuinely were like, I don't think that they've been like fostering a friendship for months, but like when production started, if those two did start forming a real friendship, to me, I'm not shocked by that. But yeah, given some recent history, it does seem a little weird, but I don't think it feels forced in their conversation. Like I feel like,
no, I think they're both seem like open to talking after everything that happened.
Yeah. This is where it was a little bit sad. I thought like Schwartz was kind of like reminiscing on I used to be a homeowner and you know, just his little life crumbled by, you know, a lot of his own doing.
Yes.
But it is like, this is the difference. And I was just telling my coworker this too, between Schwartz and Sandoval. And Schwartz is definitely not done with his growth either. Right. But in his speaking and already what we've seen this season, like you can tell he actually is more thoughtful about stuff than Sandoval. And like he does have true like remorse for something. Or even if it's not like full on, you know, I never should have done that. It's like he can say, I wish this all turned out differently, and I played a major role in it not turning out well.
Right. And I think it adds to the fact that that is why Ariana and Tom aren't just running out of the house. Like, that is hard to then go back to an apartment and everything. And we're seeing that right there in Schwartz, where it's like, this does kind of suck to like go back.
Yeah. And
backwards,
I know,
really.
like, insider stuff. Not that I got it from an inside source, but I just heard another podcast where he had to give up like he and Katie had to give up a ridiculously good interest rate on their home. And that's like unheard of. And it's like, that's a cardinal sin to get rid of that. But because they both came to the decision that they were going to sell the house, and that was going to be that, they did it like adults, you know, and Tom and Ariana just can't get there. I looked up Booking Alley to read our birth charts as well. We're gonna have to save a little bit. It would be $195 each for 45
Do you
minutes.
actually get to talk to her?
Yeah, it's a video thing. So I think it would be worth it, honestly.
Can we get a 2-for-1?
We would just be sitting there on Zoom, like grilling her about, everything.
Like, that's nice. Yeah, I'm a Pisces, whatever. Can we like talk about the real stuff here?
But I think that would be kind of cool to have her do that. And it's cute that she's
probably only going to get more expensive after the season.
I know. Now that she's putting it out there, we need to act fast. If only we had more money from our sponsors.
Right.
And then that's where Sandoval, like James gets the text from Sandoval inviting him to his B-Day party. Schwartz had kind of been on the fence about going before, and now he says he is going to go. And then James is like, well, I can probably stop by for a little bit. Then they go to emo night, and then it's also Tom's birthday. We see Kyle Chan and Billy Lee make an appearance, and then Allie stays in the car when James arrives. Schwartz also comes, and I thought it was so funny when James goes, he walks in and he's like, this party is a who's who, as in, who are these people? Like looking around. And then I don't know if it was genuine or not, but that one guy, when James was like, hey, Tom, like, can we talk, whatever. And then James somehow gets cornered by that random guy that's like, yeah, Katie just kind of like cut me out. And then it cuts to James being like, I have no idea who this man is and why he's talking to me.
I did see Connection Queen, a featured guest we've had.
Yeah.
Was posting about that, and I guess James has definitely met that guy and is in like pictures with them. Just like a mutual like friend at Sandoval's, but yeah, that he was like in pictures with James, and it was just kind of like a weird. But here's the thing too, the way it was edited, they could have just showed like
for sure
him, but he could have been talking about somebody else that he actually didn't know. But I guess that's my rebuttal to that. But,
because it was in a confessional that he said that.
So it could have been about anybody, and they're like, oh, well, this guy said he would be on camera.
Right. So we'll edit it like that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of comes to what we started talking about at the beginning, where Tom and James kind of have their own little sit down. James gets right to the point and he's like, hey man, like I was kind of looking for an apology from you that didn't really come. And then Sandoval says, well, you basically did the same thing to me with Kristen. And then James loses
I'm not going to talk about something for 10 years ago. And then Tom goes, it wasn't 10 years ago. And then they had the receipt of it was in fact in 2013.
I love when they do that.
I know. Like that's
black and white
people doing some good
editing.
So Tom is still
not willing
owning up to anything.
Yeah. And I just think like, again, it's like you're bringing up all this stuff from the past. The difference is that James hasn't continued
still
doing
sleeping
that
with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference, Tom. You still have not changed at all.
Like, how many more times do we have to keep saying that?
I know. It's like, well, you did this. Well, Jax did that. Well, this person did this.
Okay, like, you don't
Ariana
need
doesn't pay the bills.
You don't need to, like, pull out everybody else's, like, one negative thing and to justify your own.
Right.
And then he has the audacity to say, oh, you're being so narcissistic.
I know. That's really narcissistic of you. Chase, I was like, dude.
Are you serious? Like, someone learned a new word.
It isn't literally the word he's been called over
and over.
But it did feel like an old Vanderpump episode.
Yeah,
with, like,
it did.
The little, like, combative group of people.
I know. No, I thought it was a good one. It was it felt classic. It felt like a good start. We still have a lot of things up in the air, but
yes,
it felt good. I did want to say just about Sheena on Watch What Happens Live, because she mentioned last episode about losing weight and stuff and having it attributed to the stress of Sandoval, but like she's looking good. Like it looked like she's put on a little bit of weight, like looking more healthy. Yeah, so that was good to see. And then it was funny, a fan question came in to Sheena, and it was like, what do you think about Rachel, like, watching the episodes and then recapping them? And Sheena completely avoided the question, like the PR queen that she is. And she was like, well, isn't everybody watching Vanderpump? I just thought that was funny.
That is good. Good answer.
I didn't watch the after show, but I guess I will at some point, maybe. And then again, I feel like to blow really quickly through Beverly Hills, because there wasn't really much to talk about. It was kind of a nothing episode, to be quite honest.
Just them being weird.
We found out Crystal had high blood pressure. That's why. I did think it was really kind of silly at the beginning where, like, Crystal's not feeling well. Amory is literally giving her the most generic care and concern that any person would give another person if they have an ounce of compassion.
Right.
And they're like, well, I guess Crystal can just eat her words.
I know. I'm like, I would not say that Crystal should eat her words at this point.
Why? Because she rubbed your back.
Literally.
Like, she
held your hands, squeeze my hands.
Like,
whatever.
And I'm not trying to take away from any any education she has. It's just,
and maybe we didn't see it all because of the editing.
But it's not like she's walking around with a freaking doctor's bag either, where she could have even done anything. They needed to get a medic in there,
to a hospital.
So please, let's cool our jets on that one.
We did find out that Dorit is like part Israeli.
Yeah, that was. I don't feel like we ever knew that.
I know.
Before.
Maybe she mentioned it before, but it was like kind of like, just because somebody is like white passing doesn't mean they haven't had struggles due to like their race and stuff.
Yeah, and when the conversation about with Garcelle and the conflict with Dorit about the word attack got brought up at dinner again, I was like, oh, come on. But this conversation that they had, I thought was way more productive.
It was, where it was like Dorit kind of standing up for herself a little bit, and it's like, I also know what it feels like. It's different. But
yeah. And Garcelle was
like, I
think she was not as filled with emotion too.
Yeah.
And I mean, fact of the matter, well, she said, I don't think anybody here is racist, but I would say that the previous episode when they went through that, she
heavily
really
implied
that
she felt specifically Dorit was racist.
Yeah. So I think that was just a lot of emotion, and they were able to kind of talk with level heads about it now, which was nice. I also wanted to point out that, like, when they were in that little religious church, whatever, and they were kind of all having their come to Jesus moment, it reminded me of Kairos.
I know.
Because they're there like holding hands and all setting their intentions or praying, and it's just like, amazing how a little bit of spirituality just like glosses over stuff and brings people together for a moment.
Yeah, for a very short
Yes. It's like, let's not kid ourselves, ladies. This isn't going to change. Yeah. And then I guess the only other thing I really had to say was it was kind of fun to see this side of drunk Erica. But it wasn't like crazy drunk Erica. It was fun drunk Erica. Yes. And I liked that.
It was.
That was pretty much all. I also am tired of the glam. I'm just on every season. I'm tired of
seeing it too. Yeah. It's like, we get it. You're getting your hair and makeup done.
You brought I just a think it's like glam team with you abroad.
And then we have to talk about it. It's like it just feels like a competition.
Yeah, I don't like it. And it's not even just on Beverly Hills. We're seeing it in Salt Lake. We're seeing it all over
Orange County.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just so it makes. The reason why we like it is because it is like an unattainable thing, right? But this just makes it seem like out of touch to a completely new level.
I know. Like you're taking all these people on vacation with you. Or I mean, you should, I don't know.
We all know you're on a reality show, but like seeing you get glam to go to dinner with your girlfriends.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it really is.
It's just a bit much. And again, like if they are getting it done, I don't need to see it.
Yeah, just
edit it out.
I wonder why they made that change to like highlighting it almost.
I know. Like
it's odd.
Like it was funny at first, like, oh wow, this one has a glam squad.
Yeah. Oh,
now
how
it's
crazy, how extra that Erica Jane brought all these people.
I know.
But now it's like Erica's not traveling with them because she's on a budget.
Right. Yeah, it's don't like it.
Me either. And then it seems like next episode we're going to see more about Kyle and Mauricio. So I almost just called them Maurice only. I don't know why. Mo. So that'll be interesting. We've been building up to this. So I hope it's worth it.
Yep. We'll see.
We probably won't get any answers.
Nope.
What if on the reunion they talk about her real relationship with Morgan Wade?
I know. It sounded like they're allegedly going to, but how many times have we
heard that before?
I know. But what? I mean, my goodness, said be a bombshell, though. She was like... Yeah, I mean, we kind of like fell in love, and Morgan comes out and they start like holding hands,
sitting behind her, like hand on shoulder,
or like next to each other with like the hand on the knee, and or the way Kyle does.
If it's a like 2-on-1 interview with Andy afterwards,
no, dang. I guess I just want to be honest, about it.
I just can't hide this anymore, Andy.
No, I am. What does Heather say? A late in life lesbian.
Late in life lesbian. We love a late in life lesbian.
Yeah. That was so funny when she said the wedding rings fall off. And you're on the outside.
That was funny.
Oh man, that was funny.
Oh, anyway, well, we kind of blew through that, but I don't think anybody wants to hear us talk about Beverly Hills for much longer than that. It just wasn't anything to write home about. So hopefully, next week we finally will scatter Merce's ashes and be done with that storyline.
Oh, gosh, I'm so uncomfortable with that. I didn't even want to talk about it.
In the purse.
And then she goes, "Don't use the ashes to knock on the door." I'm like, "Oh no!"
I can't do Erica was like, "Can I just say something?" He's in a Ziploc bag.
I know, and they were like, literally, and then they're showing it's a Ziploc bag.
You couldn't have poured him out into like a nice thing. Anyway, all right. Do you have a recommendation for the week?
I'm going to say watch Ashley Norton's video about Hannah Brown's season, or of course, Damien Echols' book.
Both good ones. Mine is going to be not pop culture related, and I am very late to this game, but I have recently taken up playing the New York Times Connections game. It's like a daily like wordplay thing. It's like in the same vein as the Wordle thing, but different. And it's just fun to do every day. And today I had a horrible day and did not solve it. And I felt really bad about myself. I felt embarrassed because my 2 coworkers are doing it and they both got it and I did not. So.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't like to do those games, because I don't like somebody breathing down my neck, like trying to get it done. And like,
that's what happened was they both had got it done and showed me how they, like their tries and how many mistakes they made or whatever. And then I felt so much pressure that I like could not get out of my own head.
Right.
And I just made flippant mistakes and failed epically. Yeah. So, but I would still recommend it. It's just kind of fun.
Just play by yourself.
Yeah, just play alone
with other people.
All right. Don't forget to follow us on everything. Oh, we did start a Twitter just really for the sole purpose of interacting with Andy Cohen, honestly.
It felt even rude.
I know.
Interact back.
But during Watch What Happens Live, if I watch and it's live, I want to tweet at them my questions. I did last night, but they didn't read them.
They didn't see yours out of the 100,000.
For some reason, no. But basically, I don't know if that's an outlet. We might delete it. Who knows? But I'm just...
You mean X?
X. Do people say, like,
I don't know.
Are you on X?
Xing?
I have an X.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, if you want to... If you're one of the like 3 people that follow us on all other platforms and want to add another one, please do. Or if X is really popping off and we just didn't know, follow us and let us know. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you.
Yes, bye.